Nana, you can get started. You can unmute and start.
Om. Brahmanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrusham Tattvamasyadilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshibhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami Shruti Smriti Puranam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavad Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Sadashiva-samarambham Shankaracharya-madhyamam Asmadacharya-paryantam Vande Guru-paramparam Vande Guru-paramparam Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam Devim saraswatim chaiva Tato jayamudirayet. Yeah. In this, do we start from here, Brahmana, introduction to Bhagavad Gita? Or we go straight away to Bhagavad Gita?
1 second.
Straight away. Just if you roll it down.
Yeah, the Bhagavad Gita, Lord's Song. I think we've said.
Lord's Song. Yeah, that's it. We'd start from here.
Okay.
There are a variety of Gitas. The Anugita, the Uttara Gita, the Kama Gita, Pandava Gita, Hamsa Gita, Siddha Gita, Rama Gita, Uddhava Gita, Ganesha Gita, etc. But the most popular one is the Bhagavad Gita. The title Bhagavad Gita means the song Gita of the Lord Bhagavan. It is considered a song because it is in the form of verse and therefore pleasing. It is only 2 meters, Anushtup and Trishtup, making the Gita easy to recite and remember. The Gita is also pleasing because it has a subject matter that is highly desirable to all. What is the subject matter of the Gita?
You.
You, very right. You, any talk of you will be very pleasing to you. The word Bhagavad Gita is feminine in gender because the Veda, the word Shruti, is feminine. Further revealing that what is said in the Gita is said in the Shruti. And who is Bhagavan here? Krishna is Bhagavan. Krishna is the one who has proved that he has the sixfold Bhaga and is therefore looked upon as the Bhagavan. Once you understand the meaning of Bhagavan as the one who has Bhaga, Krishna being Bhagavan presents no problem at all. One can look at the title Bhagavad Gita in another way, as a song that has Bhagavan as its subject matter. This is similar to saying electronic knowledge, knowledge whose subject matter is electronics. Therefore, we can take the title Bhagavad Gita to mean either Bhagavan's Gita or Gita that has Bhagavan as the subject matter. The subject matter of the Gita This Bhagavad Gita, with Bhagavan as its subject matter, actually has two aspects, because both a life of activity and a life of renunciation are presented. One is Yoga Shastra, in that it talks about Karma Yoga, and the other is Brahma Vidya, knowledge of Brahman. Its a subject matter, therefore, implies both activity and the renunciation of activity. Since both the lifestyles are meant for Brahma Vidya is its real subject matter. It is this Brahma Vidya that is pursued by sannyasi to the exclusion of all else, a sannyasi being the one who has given up all karmas. While a sannyasi, where is that? While a sannyasi pursues only Brahma Vidya, a karma yogi pursues Brahma Vidya plus karma. How does a karma yogi pursue karma? With a certain attitude, whereby the karma that is being done becomes yoga for him or her. Because both Brahma Vidya and Karma Yoga are found in the Gita, its subject matter is twofold: Brahma Vidya and Yoga Shastra. Brahma Vidya, knowledge of what is. Brahma Vidya means the knowledge of what is. What is Brahman? What is Ishvara, the Lord? What is the reality of the world, Jagat? What is the nature of the individual Jiva? What is the truth of oneself, Atma? What is the relationship between the Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara? What is the reality of each one of them? Is there anything common among them? Are they all one, or are they separate entities? Brahma Vidya, knowledge of Brahma, reveals all of this. To gain this Brahma Vidya, there are certain qualifications mentioned, which Karma Yoga alone can provide. To help one gain these qualifications, Karma Yoga is discussed in detail in the Gita. Because both Karma Yoga and Brahma Vidya are dealt with, the Gita is considered complete and referred to as the Gita Shastra. This is what is meant by one particular verse praising the Gita. Gita Sugita Kartavya Kim Anyaihi Shastra Vistaraihi. The Gita has to be studied well. What is the use of studying other elaborate works? The completeness of the subject matter unfolded by the Gita is highlighted here. People always say that whenever they are in trouble, they go to the Gita and their problem is solved. Maybe they do find answers in the Gita because one can read into it whatever one wants. Be that as it may, the Gita has something of its own to give. Do you want what it has to give? That is the question. That do you want will come because of your Purushartha, your Drudha Nishchaya, your Vyavasayatmika Buddhi. Understanding the Gita, to know what the Gita says, requires inquiry, vichara. In the introduction to his commentary on the Gita, Shankaracharya says, Tadidam Gita Shastram Samasta Vedardha Sara Sangraha Bhutam Durvigneyardham Tadardham Avishkarnaya Anekaihi Vivrata Pada Padartha Vakyadanyayam Api Atyanta Viruddha Anekadhatvena Laukikaihi Gruhyamanam Upalabhya Aham Vivekataha Ardhanidharanam Sankhepataha Vivaranam Karishyami. This is what Shankaracharya has started before he has given the commentary of the Gita, the Bhashya of the Gita. What it means is, the sense of the Gita Shastra, which is in the form of the essence of the meanings of all the words of the Vedas, is difficult to grasp. The sense of the Gita Shastra is difficult to grasp. Now, by many commentators, in an effort to clearly expound its meaning, this has been expounded in the form of treatises that deal with the words of this text, the meanings of the words, the meanings of the sentences, the logic involved, etc. Seeing that they are fraught with vagueness and contradictions, in order to ascertain the correct meaning with due discrimination, I am writing this brief commentary. This is what, it's a humble flower that he has offered at the feet of Kitaya. By saying this, he has offered the Gita Bhashya at the feet of Kitaya. The essence of any knowledge is sometimes expressed too cryptically to be understood. Because the Gita is the essence, one naturally has to know the entire Shastra to fully appreciate what the Gita is saying. Even though Arjuna had a certain background, it was not easy for him to understand. He had to ask questions. If it was not easy for Arjuna, it is definitely not going to be easy for someone in our own time who does not have the same background, being so far removed from both Arjuna and the Lord and the Vedas, okay, not the Lord. For such a person, the Gita will be as difficult to understand as any other text of Vedanta. The knowledge of oneself is in the form of words. But since the subject matter is something very unique, the knowledge is not easily accessible through words. At the same time, words are employed to reveal the self immediately. Therefore, one requires not only the teaching Vedanta as a pramana, but also a teacher, a guru. The need for a teacher. There are two letters in the word guru. Gu meaning darkness or ignorance, and Ru meaning the one who removes it. Thus, a guru is one who removes darkness of ignorance by teaching the Shastra. The teaching is the Shastra, and the teacher is also the Shastra. As a teacher, then, I do not use the Shastra. Rather, what I teach is Shastra. What does this mean? The teaching is the Shastra, and the teacher is also me, Shastra. As a teacher, then, I do not use the Shastra. Rather, what I teach is Shastra. What does this mean? The teaching itself comes to life when it is handled in a certain way. Otherwise, all you have are so many dead words. Even though the teaching is a pramana, pramana is what? The one which bestows knowledge, which is the means for knowledge. There is a methodology employed for unfolding the words. A teacher, a guru, is the one who is able to unfold the meaning of these words. The words are already there, and their meanings are already there. They need only to be unfolded for our comprehension, just as an artist unfolds his vision on the canvas. This artist is like a painter. He does a lot of things on the canvas, and he unfolds the vision with which he has started that work on the canvas. Who is this first guru? The problem is then, who is the first guru? I answer that question by asking, who is the first father? When you tell me who the first father is, I will tell you who the first guru is. Either way, it is the same. Thus, if you say that the Lord, the Creator, is the Father, then he also must have a father, which means that he cannot be the Creator. Therefore, there is no father for the one whom you call the Lord. He is the first father. He does not have a father. Okay? Called the Lord. Someone claimed that the first father was a monkey, which is an inferential conclusion. You will find, however, that this monkey also had a father, who had a father, who had a father, until finally you give up. because you are into infinite regression. You had better give up. Or you may decide that the first father was one who was not a son. He was only a father, one we call the Lord. Thus, if we assume that the first father is the Lord, then the first guru is not going to be different from the Lord. And from the Lord downwards, there is a teacher-student lineage called Guru Shishya Sampradaya, Guru Shishya Parampara. Where is it? Yeah. The entire parampara is praised in the following verse. Sada Shiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. What it means is, I salute the lineage of teachers, beginning with Shiva, the Lord, linked by, the Lord linked by Shankaracharya in the middle and extending down to my own teacher. Thus, when you salute the teacher, your salutation goes to the Lord, in whom the lineage has its beginning. To point out one of the links, Shankaracharya is mentioned as being in the middle, meaning somewhere in the flow between the Lord and one's present teacher, the word middle having been used, there must also be an end. If the beginning is Lord Shiva, meaning the Lord, one who is all fullness, all knowledge, and the middle is Shankaracharya, then who is the end? My teacher, Asmadacharya. Because I'm here today, I know there has been no break in the flow between the first father and myself. Similarly, since this knowledge is coming to me right now, I know it has been kept alive by one teacher giving it to another, and thus there has been no break between my teacher and the Lord. I salute this Guru Shishya Parampara, Guru Parampara. How to choose a Guru? To choose a Guru, you can also be a problem. To choose a Guru can also be a problem. Do you find the teacher with the longest or the whitest beard? So much is said by so many, everyone claiming to know the truth. Given all this confusion, first and foremost, I would say that the best teacher is the one who looks at the whole human problem as an error. If someone says you have a problem, then that person is going to manipulate you. If, however, the person says that the problem that you seem to have is an error, then he or she is objective. And if the problem is real, no one will be able to resolve it. If say, for instance, the bondage is real, nobody can remove that. If samsara is real, that continues eternally, nobody can remove that. If the situation is factually real, how can it be changed? Real means satyam. What is satyam is trikala abhatita vastu. That cannot be negated in any period of time. Okay? In not only time, in space also. At no place can it be negated if it is satyam. That is what is meant by real. If the situation is factually real, how can it be changed? If I am really an inadequate and limited person, then there's no way of my solving the problem of inadequacy with or without help. The limited me is always limited, but here there is no need to say, if I am a fraction of the whole, I will always be a fraction of the whole. If I am the whole, the conclusion that I am a fraction is an error, and the way out is to see myself in proper light. Thus, the one who says the problem is an error and that it is a
Universal error.
it is it is a universal error, not your own personal error may be a guru. That person who can say this He may be a guru. In order to know that I am the whole and therefore acceptable to myself, it is said, may one go to a teacher, Gurum Abhigachyet. What kind of a teacher? Veda itself says that the teacher should be the one who is well informed in this teaching and who is well rooted in this knowledge, one who is a Shrotriya and a Brahmanishta. But how this is available, this Veda Vakya is available in the Mundaka Upanishad. In the first Mundaka, the second chapter of the first Mundaka, the 12th verse. Tadvijnanardham sa gurumeva bhigachet samitpanihi shrotriyam brahmanishtam. This is a Veda mantra in the Mundaka Upanishad. Yeah, roll it up, please. Correct. But how do I know whether someone is well informed or not? If I want to study higher mathematics and to research in topology, do research in topology, I need only find someone who has studied higher mathematics and specialized in topology. If I find a person who has published numerous credible papers on topology, I can assume that he or she knows the subject matter. I can then decide to study with this person until he or she proves otherwise. This topology, most of you must be knowing. Supposing you have taken a big rubber sheet. On that, you have various rubber stamps, no? The stamps you use, your name and your designation, your qualifications, etc., the degrees, diplomas you obtained, you got rubber stamps. Such like rubber stamps of various geometrical figures, like the square, the rectangle, quadrangle, the ellipse, the circle, etc., etc. Supposing you imprint all those on that big rubber sheet, what do you see? You see a circle as a circle, square as a square, rectangle as a rectangle, etc. And you have also got a rubber stamp with the symbol of infinity. What is the symbol of infinity? The inverted number 8. Inverted number 8 is inverted means it is turned by 90 degrees. Inverted means when it is turned by 90 degrees, it looks like as though the figure 8 is sleeping. That also you have imprinted on the rubber sheet. Supposing you kind of extend the rubber sheet, what happens to all these figures? Slowly, when you do this, the rubber sheet is such as which is very elastic. You can't kind of tear it off. It is highly elastic. You must assume that. So when you keep on stretching the rubber sheet, what happens? All these figures get stretched. Okay, a square may slowly become a circle. A rectangle may become some ellipse. A circle may vanish and become itself a square, that kind of a thing. But one thing, if you observe closely, that symbol of infinity, you can never distort. Do what you like. That symbol of infinity will remain as a symbol of infinity. That figure 8, which is turned by 90 degrees, it will always remain like that. Though slightly distorted, subtly, but it does not lend itself to become an ellipse or a rectangle or a triangle or a square, none of those things. That is the beauty. Okay, that is the beauty of thinking about this. The topology, incidentally, is a science of understanding the various geometric figures when they are kind of stretched. This stretched, Einstein comes in for stretching and things like that. Okay. In terms of time, for instance, in terms of time and distance, all those things will come in. That is topology. In guru seeking, however, there is a problem because this knowledge, being spiritual knowledge, is different. How do you know the person has this knowledge and has undergone the discipline of learning unless you already know something of it yourself? Incidentally, while on this, it is said, it is the Shastra Vakya, I believe, you need not worry about looking for your Guru. If you progress adequately, if you evolve yourself in the right path regarding Brahma Vidya Samapadya, okay, you are committed to that. When you are committed to Brahma Vidya, you want Brahma Vidya to the exclusion of everything else. If you have progressed adequately, then the Lord Himself will present the Guru to you. You need not worry about looking for the Guru and selecting Gurus. Guru is not a vegetable for you to select. Guru is a Guru, the one who removes the ignorance of delusion which is in you. That kind of a person, you can't be selective. In Guru seeking, however, there is a problem because this knowledge being spiritual is different. How do you know the person has this knowledge and has undergone the discipline of learning unless you already know something of it yourself? The society should be informed enough for one to be able to find out whether a person knows or only pretends to know. The person could also be deluded, not pretending to know, but thinking he or she knows. You know what it means? Not that he is pretending. He is not an imposter. But without his knowledge, he is deluded and he does not know it. He thinks he knows a Shastra, but he does not. And not only that, not only he does not know the Shastra adequately, he does not know that he does not know adequately. Okay? That is why Thoreau's Walden that says, to know that you know what you know, that you do not know what you do not know is true knowledge. You must be honest to admit, this far I have known. Thus far I have known. I do not know beyond this. If you are honest and admit, that is kind of acknowledging your ignorance of lack of knowledge. That is also knowledge. The society should be informed enough for the one to be able to find out whether a person knows or only pretends to know. The person could also be deluded, not pretending to know. He's an honest fellow. He's not pretending to know, but thinking that he or she knows. Such people do not know what they do not know. But previously, in Indian society, this was not a problem because everyone is supposed to become a sannyasi eventually. One did not start another life after retirement. But nowadays, people plan their retirements early. Still, the best retirement plan to be ever conceived is a sannyasa, which was meant to be the last stage of one's life. Having been married and so on, the time comes when you just walk out, not because of a quarrel or because you want to marry another person. Walking out is considered a part of married life and is appreciated by both the husband and the wife as its ultimate aim. At this stage, they have matured enough and are independent enough for a life of sannyasa. This kind of retirement plan requires no social security, only the maturity to walk out as a renunciate. Since the Indian society respects the sannyasa stage of life and the Veda enjoins it, naturally the basic needs of a sannyasi are taken care of by the society. Although some people postpone this stage of life, everyone is expected to become a sannyasi in the end. The Guru is a renunciate. To be a sannyasi means that one already has the knowledge or is seeking it. Even as a householder, one is supposed to study in order to gain self-knowledge. Once a person becomes a sannyasi, he or she has no daily duties except studying and teaching. Thus, in every village, you will find a few sannyasis coming and going, or permanently staying there, so that the society knows who knows what, just as we know who is a professor of mathematics and who is not. To do research in mathematics or electronics, we have no doubts about whom we should go to and which institution we should attend. There is therefore no problem in choosing a teacher for such knowledge in such a society. If you know exactly what you are seeking and whether or not the person is recognized as having the knowledge, to that extent, you can know whether the person knows or not. However, if people do not know these things, then they are totally gullible, credulous, believing everything and falling for everything, and in spite of their expertise in other fields. For such people, anyone can pass as a guru. It is very easy to delude such people. They are already under the influence of deluge, and they can be further deluded. A person who has undergone this discipline of knowledge is a scholarly person, Shrotriya, and is called Shrotriya. Therefore, a guru is a scholar, whereas a scholar need not be a guru. Understand this. A guru is required to be a Shrotriya, a scholar, but every scholar need not be a guru. To be a guru, a committed pursuit is also necessary. One who is committed to this knowledge is called a Brahmanishta. This is an important point to understand. It is not enough if he has a little bit of jnana. He must have the rooted jnana, Brahmanishta. If the knowledge is used to gain security, the person is insecure. Moreover, because the knowledge is, I am secure, the person does not really know anything about it and is therefore not qualified to teach it. Such a person is self-seeking and has no knowledge to give you. All that he or she can give is a collection of words for which you do not require a teacher. You need only a book and a dictionary. Brahmara, when you roll it up, you roll up this particular para, the teacher, as the first line on the top. It'll be easy for me. Otherwise, I was groping as to where I have stopped. The teacher you require is one who employs these words and makes them meaningful. To do this, a teacher must necessarily be free from being insecure so that he or she is not seeking recognition or insecurity, or recognition or security. The proof of a teacher's knowledge is in the teaching methodology, in the person's communicative ability, and the content of what he or she communicates. Thus, you go to a teacher who is well informed in this teaching and one who is committed to it, the one who has no other pursuit. And how should you go to a teacher? With an attitude that indicates that you are ready to serve the teacher, meaning you are ready to do what is to be done in order to gain this knowledge because of your love for it. Nothing is too much and no distance is too far. This attitude is not damaging to you because you have chosen the right teacher. Hence, there is no question of the person exploiting you if he or she is a guru. True to the definition of the word guru, a guru exploits no one. Thus, whatever you can do, you will do. That is your attitude. Only then can the teaching begin. The Gita as a dialogue. Thank you. The Gita as a dialogue. The entire Gita is a dialogue. In fact, all the teaching is in the form of a dialogue. Although the methodology of the teaching does not necessitate the presentation of characters and the dialogues between them. After all, we are not interested in knowing the names of the teacher or the taught. We are only interested in the teaching itself. But then the characters involved in the dialogue are present in the form of a story, an akhyayika, in order to tell us something about ourselves. We find the same approach in the Upanishads. where many names of people are cited. If Tattvamasi, that thou art, is the message, why not just talk about that message? Why are all these stories brought in only to reveal the method of teaching, the sampradaya, how we have to learn, and what type of knowledge it is? The 4 types of dialogues. There are different types of dialogues. One is a discussion involving 2 or more people who are interested in finding out the facts about a certain subject matter. They're all exploring. This kind of a thing happens during satsanga. Nobody is interested in satsanga to present their own point of view and make all others believe that it is true. He is open-minded enough to accept what the others have to present. And what little he knows, he will try to present without any distortion. And there's no egotism in the satsanga. That is why satsanga is always favored. Satsangatvena sangatvam, not for nothing. It is to explore the truth of the matter, and everybody participates in that. Though it is mentioned here too, satsanga can have many. One is a discussion involving 2 or more people who are interested in finding out the facts about a certain subject matter. They are all exploring. In this type of discussion, there is no teacher-student relationship. Each person is equally placed, even though one person may know a little more than the others about the subject matter. They are all interested in understanding. This kind of discussion among equals, any collective study among students, for example, is called Vada and is naturally healthy and is traditionally an important component of study. It is said that a student gains a quarter of this knowledge by such discussion. Hey, can you go to the footnote? There is a footnote. Acharyat padamadatte padam sishyaha swamedhaya padam sabrahmacharibhyaha padam kalakramena cha. Beautiful. What it says is, a student obtains 1/4 of the knowledge from the teacher, 1/4 from the teacher. 1/4 means of the knowledge, 1/4 by one's own intelligence, 1/4 from the fellow students, and 1/4 in course of time. The 3rd quarter refers to Vada, quarter from fellow students. That refers to that Vada. The 4 types of Vada we're talking of, no? Yeah. Go back to that footnote ended this sentence. Yeah, thank you. Hey, where is the footnote ended sentence? There is above, is it? Oh, okay, yeah, thank you. There are also 2 unhealthy types of dialogues that we should be aware of and avoid them. One is the dialogue that takes place between 2 people who are already committed to different beliefs. Such a discussion, called Jalpa, is governed purely by each person's wit. Wit means their intelligence and the way they present an argument, etc., that kind of a thing. The words they use, their ability to present a case like that. Any discussion between 2 fanatics falls into this category. Each of them is convinced that the other person is totally wrong and tries to win the other over to his or her particular belief, although there is no basis for such a discussion. Supposing you have a belief and I have another belief. Your belief may be right and mine may be wrong. On the other hand, my belief may be right and yours may be wrong. Or both of us may be wrong. Both of us may be right also. How then can either of us insist that I alone am right? The difference between a believer and a fanatic becomes very obvious here. The importance of an open, inquiring mind. The difference between a scientist and a believer is also worthy of notice. One may adhere to your belief But everyone must necessarily have a mind which is open to explore and know. Is that the one which is open to explore and know? That open inquiring mind, the mind of a scientist, is an entirely different mind from that of a believer. We can and must respect the beliefs of others, but we cannot have a discussion based on such beliefs. Both of us may be wrong. A discussion between two people, both of whom are committed to certain beliefs, is purely a dialogue between two missionaries. It is better to respect the other person's belief and have a simple human relationship. Discussions are useless. All you can do is ask, what is your belief? Some people are curious. If you are curious, you can ask. But I myself would not ask because the other person is acceptable to me along with his or her beliefs. I need not know what they are. This is healthy attitude to have towards a person. But any discussion, Jalpa, based on beliefs is useless. No one wins and no one loses. Each person always comes back with better arguments. Jalpa discussions, therefore, are useless and they have no value. Yeah, there is another type of discussion called Vitanda, wherein one person makes a statement with which the other person always disagrees. Why? Merely because the other person said it. Due to jealousy or some other reason, one person always tries to prove the other wrong. Such a discussion is also useless. A fourth type of discussion, one that concerns us here, is called Samvada, a discussion between a teacher and a student, Guru Shishya Samvada. In the teacher-student relationship, the student has already accepted the other person as a teacher and therefore looks up to him or her. Although there is a dialogue between them, the attitude is entirely different. The discussion being based on the student's acceptance that I am a student and this person is my teacher. This attitude prevails until or unless the person thought to be a teacher proves to be otherwise. The moment you discover the person has nothing to teach, you can become friends. However, when you have to learn from someone, you look up to that person. If you do not understand what the teacher is saying, you give the benefit of doubt to the teacher. To the teacher, you do not understand what the teacher is saying. You give the benefit of the doubt to one teacher, to the teacher, even though he or she may sometimes appear to be contradictory, seeming to have said something previously that is not in harmony with what is being said now, as we will see this in the Gita. Dialogue between teacher and the student. In a Guru Shishya Samvada, the subject matter can be anything. Here in the Gita, matter is Brahma Vidya and Yoga Shastra. In one word, Vedanta. The Guru is Bhagavan Krishna, referred to as Vasudeva's son. Vasudeva's son. And the student is Arjuna, called Partha here because he is Partha's son, Pratha's son. He is also called Kaunteya, a son of Kunti. Arjuna has a number of other names, Dhananjaya, Sabyasachi, Gudakesha, and so on. But Arjuna is his popular name. Between Arjuna, the student, and Lord Krishna, the teacher, there is the discussion, and Gita is the body of knowledge being taught. Therefore, Gita is called a Samvada, giving the teacher the benefit of the doubt. If it looks as though the teacher is being contradictory, the student gives the benefit of the doubt to the teacher. This is what is expected of a student. As a student, one need not take the blame upon himself. The teacher can be asked a question. Previously, such and such was said, and now this is being said. Why is this difference? You said Brahman is without qualities, Nirguna, and now you say it is with qualities, Saguna. How can Brahma be Saguna? You say it is. How can Brahma be Saguna? The teacher can be asked a question. Previously, such and such was said. Okay, Brahma Saguna. You say it is beyond the mind, and that is not available as an object for the mind. At the same time, you say one sees oneself, the Atma, with the mind. Manasa Pashyati. How can one see the Atma with the mind? And how is one going to know that one is seeing the Atma? It looks as though the Shruti herself is contradictory. To say that Brahman cannot be objectified by the mind, but has to be recognized by the mind, seems to be a contradiction. But it is not a contradiction, it is perfect. If it looks like a contradiction to the student, then he or she can ask a question, a prashna. And when the student waits for the right time to ask a question, it is called a pariprashna, based on his or her faith, shraddha in the teacher. As a teacher, one cannot contradict himself. A teacher who contradicts himself or herself does not know the subject matter, nor can a teacher simply learn along with a student and teach, since this creates situations wherein both the teacher and the taught may suddenly discover a new fact never known to either of them before, a fact that contradicts everything they knew thus far. This is not why this is not why one goes to a teacher. Teaching is not meant to be exploratory. Therefore, the teacher should know exactly what he or she is talking. Uh, uh, Explanatory, okay. Therefore, the teacher should know exactly what he or she is talking and not be contradictory. The attitude implied by the term Guru Siksha Samvada is especially relevant here. Since the entire teaching is itself a means of knowledge, it is not a philosophical speculation. Moreover, we are not attracted to this kind of learning out of a simple academic interest. The teaching has a value, and the value is myself alone. The teaching is about myself. I have a value for freedom, and this value makes me want to know. As a person, I want to be free, and I want to learn for no other purpose than to be free. Since there is a value here, and the teaching itself is a means of knowledge, there must necessarily be a certain attitude on my part towards this teaching and the teacher. That the teaching has to come from a teacher in the form of a dialogue is because it is something to be understood, something to be followed, not swallowed. In a belief, there is nothing to follow, only something to swallow, something to accept totally, without question. Any questioning that may take place is meant only to establish what the belief is, which is not really questioning at all. This is why there are so many attempts to establish historical proofs that a certain person existed. Whether someone existed or not is not the issue. The teaching is the issue. Therefore, if you look into the teaching, if you are interested in what is being taught, your whole attitude and approach will be different. Here, a dialogue implies a teaching that is received from a teacher, meaning that this knowledge has to be received from a teacher and the subject matter has to be understood. You
Hari
want
Om
to
Nana.
talk?
I
Hari
will
Om.
take. I'll
Okay.
take.
Take.
Two types of subject matter. There are two types of subject matter, Sadhya Vishaya and Siddha Vishaya. Sadhya is that which is yet to be accomplished and is accomplished by doing something, by an action. If you want to know how to go to heaven, for example, first you have to know what heaven is. And then you have to decide to buy a ticket. You are told that you are to, I'm not able to. You are told that punya, the ticket for heaven, can be gained by doing good deeds. You must also hold on to the punya you have earned, which means that you must not do any improper actions, papa, while you are earning your ticket to heaven. Only then will you go to heaven after death. All this is very straightforward for a person who has Shraddha in the Veda, being a pramana, and is not something that can be logically arrived at. Any question related to sadhya is only to understand how to do something, like cooking, for example. An Indian woman who wants to know how to make pizza will ask certain questions. The situation is very simple. You just tell her how to do it a few times until she knows how and the topic is over. It is just a matter of whether she has understood what you have said. There is an order governing how everything is to be done. Certain elements are involved and therefore must be understood. What has to be done is also to be understood, and that's the end of it. One may do it or not do it. By practice, one eventually acquires the knack of it. If a person keeps on making pizza, hopefully with some sympathetic people around, he or she will certainly master the art of pizza making. This is sadhya then. There is no questioning here. When the subject matter is something you have to accomplish later, when it is dealing with means and ends, sadhana and sadhya, proper questioning is not a part of the whole approach. This is true even if the subject matter is a Vedic ritual. Again, when it comes to actions, there are many choices available. You can do it this way or that way. You need not do it at all. Or you can do something else entirely and achieve the same result. Karma, kartum shakyam, akartum shakyam, anyatha va kartum shakyam. Action may be done, may not be done, or may be done differently. There is more than one way to go to heaven. There are 100 different ways, one of which you can choose. Why anyone would want to go is another matter. Thus, when a sadhya vishaya is involved, there can be choice. But this is not so with a siddha vishaya. No choice in knowledge. There is no choice involved, however, when what is to be accomplished is already accomplished, siddha, but not understood. Unlike action, knowledge is not open to choice. It is always true to its object. For example, knowledge of an apple is always true to the object apple, even if I will it to be otherwise. Nor do I have a choice in knowledge once the means of knowledge and the object of knowledge are aligned. If my eyes are open and if they are not defective, and if the mind is not elsewhere, I will necessarily see what is in front of me. What choice do I have? To know an already accomplished fact requires proper questioning in order to remove whatever that may be blocking the knowledge from taking place. Why should you be denied the knowledge of yourself once it is unfolded? What exactly is the obstruction? Is it that you do not follow what is being said? Once the obstructions have been identified, they have to be removed one by one because you are Brahman. The whole pursuit then is one of removing all doubts. Because this is the knowledge of an already accomplished fact, the knowledge has to be immediate. It cannot be indirect. If it does not happen in spite of the teaching, then there is some obstruction, which is in the form of error, vagueness, or doubt. The obstructions are removed in the dialogue between the teacher and the student. The significance of questioning. Where there is understanding involved, questioning is imperative. This does not mean that you should question all the time. What is meant is that a questioning mind is necessary because without questioning, you can never gain clarity. Therefore, the teaching itself consists of a number of questions. As teachers, we ourselves raise questions and keep answering them. If the student still has questions, he or she should ask those questions in order to know, since we are not dealing with simple belief here. And if we find that something is a belief, we can say, this is a belief, thereby ending the matter. We do not try to establish a belief beyond establishing that it is a belief. For example, the statement, this is my mother, is a belief because there is no way of proving it. How do you know two babies were not switched? There may be a lot of corroborative evidence, but still it is a belief. It is not direct perception. There are many beliefs, and there is nothing wrong with beliefs, as long as we understand them as beliefs. However, there are also many things we have to know, and where we have to know, questions are very important and are allowed. The Gita was presented as a dialogue between a teacher and a student to emphasize that the subject matter is one for understanding, not for believing. Commentaries on the Gita. Shankara says that he's writing this commentary on the Gita so that people could analyze and understand what the true meaning of the Gita Shastra is, although it had already been so elaborately commented upon by others. These earlier commentaries, no matter how definitive they were, sometimes differed from one another, and in some cases were even opposed to each other. Since these various works were confusing to those who did not have a clear understanding of the Shastra, Shankara decided to undertake this work in order to clarify what the Gita is actually saying. Since Shankara's time, there have been numerous commentaries and translations in various languages with varying degrees of clarity. None has matched Shankara's analysis of the Gita. His commentary is extremely cogent and consistent from the beginning to the end. For instance, whenever the topic of bhakti comes up, he discusses it in its proper context. Wherever Ishvara is mentioned, even though Lord Krishna uses the first person singular, Shankara makes it very clear that what was meant was the Lord, Ishvara, Paramatma. When the Gita is analyzed properly, the analysis must be rational. It should not go against reason. A commentary on the Gita should be in keeping with the words that are there. It should honor all the rules of grammar and syntax. What was said before and what is said later should also be taken into account. The need for inquiry. Since the Gita is a book that contains only what is said in the Upanishads, this is all the more reason for any commentary on it to be reasonable. Nothing should contradict the source book. Our understanding of the Gita should definitely be in keeping with all these various factors. Only then can there be real understanding. Whether the Gita says this or that is something that must be understood. We are not trying to make the Gita say what we want to say. We are trying to understand what it says. And for this, we need to inquire and be objective. This is why, before approaching the Gita, a few verses called the Gita Dhyanam are sung in praise of it, whereby we invoke the Mother Gita to reveal the truth contained in the Gita Shastra. These verses are a prayer to the Gita herself, to the Gita as the Mother Shruti, and to the Gita as Bhagavan, the Lord. It is only after we have invoked the Gita in this way do we try to extract the exact meaning of what the Gita has to say. The Gita is like a mirror, just as the Upanishads are a mirror of words wherein we can see ourselves very clearly. If the world is not separate from me, and if Ishvara also is not separate from me, then I should be able to see this truth in the words of the Gita. The prayer is for the sake of understanding the Gita properly, which is understanding myself. In the brief discussion of the Gita Dhyana verses that follow, you will come across sentences requiring further elucidation and more clarity in order for you to enjoy their meaning completely. This clarity will come as the Gita is unfolded. Gita Dhyanam.
Hari Om.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Mara texted me saying she wants some clarification on a few verses in the 9th chapter. Verses maybe 4 and 5 or 4 to 6.
Yes, Nanaji. Yeah,
you are around. So what we will do, Doctor? What we will do after we are through with this, this introduction, recitation of this introduction, we will complete the 18th chapter. Afterwards, it's my fond wish that we undertake the chanting of the entire Gita, even though it will take some 3-4 days. At that time, we will certainly come to 9th chapter. I will explain those verses to you. Okay?
Okay, no problem. Thank you so much.
Right. Okay, thank you. Forward, Brahmara.
Om Pathaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Grathitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitaamritavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Amba Tvamanusandadhami Bhagavad Gita Bhavadveshini. Om, name of the Lord. Om, O Goddess Mother, O Bhagavad Gita, you who were taught by Bhagavan Narayana himself for the sake of Arjuna.
Brahmara.
Yes, Nana.
I suggest you go through the Pratipadartha.
Fine. I'll do
People will pick up the meanings of Sanskrit words. Yeah.
Okay. Om, the name of the Lord. Amba Bhagavad Gita. O Mother Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavata Narayanena. By Lord Narayana. Swayam himself. Parthaya, to the son of Pritha. Pratibodhitam. You who were taught. Purana Munina Vyasena Grathitam. You who were incorporated by the ancient sage Vyasa. Madhye Mahabharatam, in the middle of Mahabharata. Advaita Amrita Varshinim, you who have the nature of showering the nectar of Advaita. Ashtadasha Adhyayinim, you who are in the form of 18 chapters. Bhavadveshinim, you who are the destroyer of the life of becoming, samsara. Bhagavatim, you who are the goddess. Tvam, Anusandadhami, I repeatedly invoke. Om, O Goddess Mother, O Bhagavad Gita, you who were taught by Bhagavan Narayana himself for the sake of Arjuna, the son of Pritha, Kunti, you who were faithfully collected and reported by the ancient sage Vyasa and placed in the middle of the Mahabharata, you who are in 18 chapters, you who have the nature of showering the nectar of non-duality, who is the destroyer of the life of becoming, samsara. Again and again, I invoke you. An auspicious beginning. Any beginning is considered to be auspicious. Since the word Om is the name of Bhagavan, the Lord, it is an auspicious way to begin these verses in which we invoke the Lord's help as we begin our study of the Gita. The Gita invoked as mother. A mother is a symbol of love, affection, and spontaneous care. Is someone who always prays for your welfare, who never lets you down when you are in trouble. This is also true of the Vedas because with great compassion, the Veda takes into account the need for the human being to achieve various things in life and talks about the various means and ends for one to achieve them. And finally, through self-knowledge in the Upanishads, gets the person out of the pursuit of means and ends. Therefore, the Veda or the Shruti is given the status of a mother. And because the Gita says exactly what the Vedas say, it is also looked upon as a mother. In this opening verse, the Gita is invoked in this way. O mother, I invoke you. I meditate upon you again and again as a mother of blessing. For whose sake is the Gita taught? The Gita was taught to Arjuna. He is called Partha in this verse because he is the son of Pritha, another name for his mother Kunti. Because the Gita was taught for Arjuna's sake, Arjuna is said to be its cause, Nimitta. The teacher of the Gita, the knowledge contained in the Gita was taught by the Lord Bhagavan Narayana. It was not taught by any other guru, but directly by Narayana. Even though every guru is considered to be Narayana, this verse makes it clear that the all-knowing Lord himself as Krishna was the teacher of the Gita. The meaning of Narayana. There are many ways of looking at the meaning of the word Narayana, one of which is particularly relevant here. The word Nara is used to refer to a human being. It also means indestructible, that which always remains, not destroyed. Na riyate iti naraha. Nara, therefore, can only refer to that which pervades everything and is timeless. Atma in Sanskrit. Atma here refers to I, the essence of the subject who performs various actions and enjoys various forms of experiences. This is an entirely different meaning from what we commonly understand by the word I. Therefore, the real meaning of the word Nara, human being, is to be understood from the Shastra to be the all-pervasive and timeless Atma, Paramatma. Narasya idam naram. That which belongs to the Nara is Nara or Jagat, the world. The world is born out of the all-pervasive, timeless Paramatma and is sustained by Paramatma and goes back to Paramatma. Nara then is the entire world. And Naram eti iti Narayana. The one who knows this Nara, the world, is Narayana, the omniscient Lord Parameshwara. Therefore, the same Atma, the Nara Atma, the human being, is the omniscient Paramatma, Parameshwara, the Lord. Because this omniscient Narayana is the one who is teaching Arjuna here, everything that is taught in the Gita is considered valid. Narayana is the one who knows everything and is also the one to be known through Vedanta. Vyasa as a reporter. How would we know about the Lord's teaching to Arjuna without Vyasa? Any gospel is the report of a disciple, and therefore its accuracy depends on the disciple. If the disciple is adept, he or she will report properly. If the disciple has limitations, then there will be problems with the report. In the Gita, the reporter is very important. Narayana taught and Arjuna heard, but it was Vyasa who reported it all. The reporter here is not an ordinary person, as we shall see in a later verse. Vyasa is the one who is capable of elaborating a brief statement into 1,000 verses, complete with intricate details and cogent arguments. Vyasa is described here as a Purana Muni, an ancient sage. A Muni, a Mananashila, is a person who is capable of bestowing careful thought over a particular subject matter. The word Purana can also mean the ancient legends based on the teaching found in the Vedas. Vyasa gathered these legends together and, remaining faithful to the Vedic vision, put them into writing called Puranas. Therefore, he is referred to as Purana Muni, because the subject that is being taught in the Gita was so well known to him. Vyasa had no problem with reporting it properly. Where did Vyasa report what was taught by the Lord to Arjuna? He presented it in the middle of the epic Mahabharata in the Gita in 18 chapters. The subject matter of the Gita. What is the subject matter of the Gita? What did Lord Narayana teach Arjuna? What was taught is described as a shower of Amrita, nectar. Nectar generally comes only in drops, but in the Gita, nectar is showered upon us. What kind of nectar is it? All nectars are sweet to the taste, but do not last forever. The nectar that is showered by the Gita is different. Not only does it provide happiness here, but also showers us with the Amrita of Advaita, non-duality. Here the word Amrita is used in the sense of that which gives you immortality. Here the knowledge frees you from mortality in the form of life and death. In non-duality, there is no second thing. Therefore, with this knowledge, all fear is eliminated. Only in duality can there be fear. Fear cannot exist in non-duality because there is no second thing to fear. The nectar of non-duality. That you are everything, that there is nothing other than you, is not an ordinary subject matter. This is what is meant by non-duality. Non-duality means that you are the whole. That which gives you this vision is the nectar of non-duality. Nectar is used here because just as nectar is something to be tasted, to be experienced, non-duality is something to be understood, to be yourself. The goddess Gita showers the nectar of non-duality upon you. This shower of nectar is the vision of non-duality. It is the message of the Lord. The Gita is Bhagavati, the goddess, and therefore not separate from Bhagavan's vision. She knows that Krishna is Ishvara, the Lord, and along with him, she blesses you because she gives you this knowledge. The 18 chapters of the Gita. In this verse, the Gita is addressed as the one who has 18 chapters. It is said, O Gita, the one with 18 chapters, I salute you. The Gita as a destroyer of sorrow. The nectar of non-duality destroys the bhava, the samsara, completely. Bhava means a life of becoming, with all of its problems and fears, a life of sorrow, bondage, birth, and death. This teaching is therefore the medicine for samsara, that by which the whole samsara is destroyed. The destroyer of samsara and the nectar of non-duality go together and refer to the Gita as the mother who destroys the samsara by showering the nectar of non-duality. In the first verse, then, we salute the Mother Gita by meditating upon her, by invoking her before we start our study. Also, we cannot think about the Gita without thinking about Vyasa, Krishna, and Arjuna, called Partha in this verse. The second verse, therefore, is addressed to Vyasa. Namostu te Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Pullara Vidyayata Patra Netra Ena Tvaya Bharata Taila Purnaha Prajwalito Jnanamaya Pradipaha. Vishala Buddhe, one whose intellect is vast. Pulla Aravinda Ayata Patra Netra, one whose eyes are clear and pleasing like a fully blossomed lotus. Vyasa, O Vyasa, Ena Tvaya, by you, Bharata Taila Purnaha, full of the oil of the Mahabharata, Jnanamayaha, in the form of knowledge, Pradipaha, the lamp, prajvalitaha is well lighted. Te, to you. Namaha astu, let my salutation be. O Vyasa, the one whose intellect is vast, whose eyes are clear, and as pleasing as a fully blossomed lotus, who lit the lamp of knowledge well by filling it with the oil of the Mahabharata. To you, my salutation. The vastness of Vyasa's intellect. Shakespeare's intellect has been described as the platform of the world upon which its drama unfolds. He was able to write excellent characterizations for the stages of the world. Similarly, in this verse, Vyasa is described as one whose intellect, whose knowledge is vast. He wrote thousands of verses, meaning that they simply flowed out of him. There is a story told that when Vyasa was planning to write the Mahabharata, he wanted to dictate the epic to a stenographer. Because there was no shorthand at the time, stenographers had to write very quickly in longhand. But no human being could take dictation from Vyasa because his mind was so quick and clear. He just reeled out the verses and no one could hope to keep up with him. So he asked Lord Ganesha to be his stenographer. Ganesha agreed on the condition that Vyasa would not stop dictating once he began. Vyasa agreed, but he also had a condition that Ganesha should understand everything he said in every sense. Agreeing to this condition, Ganesha pulled out one of his tusks, sharpened it, and with it wrote down Vyasa's Mahabharata on palm leaves. That is why Lord Ganesha is portrayed as having only one tusk. In the Mahabharata, you will find, for the most part, simple descriptive verses. But every once in a while, there will be a verse which is all profound, a purple verse with different meanings. The reason Vyasa did this was so that he could have a breather. Because Ganesha understood so easily what was being written, Vyasa had to throw out a difficult verse whenever he wanted a break. If we could count these verses, then we can find out how many times he stopped. By the time Ganesha figured out the meaning, Vyasa had had this time out and was ready to begin again. This is Vyasa.
Hari Om. It is said in the entire Mahabharata, about 8,500 verses are of this nature, which are very profound in nature, very difficult to understand, unless you keep on applying your mind very nicely to it. And that is the time when Ganesha was thinking about the meaning. Vyasa was planning about what else to dictate later. I believe these are about 8,500 verses.
8,500 of the 10,000 verses of Mahabharata.
Not 10,000, 100,000.
1 lakh, sorry, 1 lakh.
1
lakh verses. Oh, yeah.
Iti Shriman Mahabharate Shatasahasrikayam 100,000 Shatasahasrikayam Samhitayam.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
The
And what
clarity
is
of
8,000, 8,500? What is that?
8,500 verses were the most difficult verses to understand.
Understand. Okay.
Understand.
Out
So,
of 1 lakh verses.
Ganesha took some time, I believe, to understand. That was the pause which Vyasa kind of contrived to create for himself.
the clarity of Vyasa's vision. Vyasa had beautiful big eyes. They are described in this verse as being like a fully blossomed lotus, eyes that were clear and pleasing. Vyasa is also compared here to a lamp that sheds light, the light of knowledge. This lamp is very well lit. He is therefore the one who lights the lamp of knowledge for us. The lamp that was lit by Vyasa is filled with the oil of the Mahabharata. This epic is considered to be the 5th Veda because it is true to the knowledge found in the Vedas. It seems to have been written for the sole purpose of lighting up this knowledge. When a small object is presented against a much larger background, its beauty is often more evident. The Mahabharata is like a canvas from whose vast background the Vedic knowledge emerges. Knowledge is the lamp and the epic is its fuel. The fuel is for the lamp. The lamp is not for the fuel. This verse then is paying tribute to Vyasa, who lit up the wisdom of the Vedas with the oil of the Mahabharata. So unto you, Vyasa, who lit the lamp of knowledge with this epic fuel, my salutations. Prapanna parijataya totra vetraikapanaye Jnanamudraya Krishnaya Gitamritaduhe Namaha. Prapanna parijataya. Unto the one who is the wish-fulfilling tree for those who have surrendered to him. Totra vetra ekapanaye. Unto the one who has the whip in one hand. Jnanamudraya. Unto the one whose other hand assumes the gesture symbolizing knowledge. Gita Amrita Duhe. Unto the one who milks the nectar of the Gita. Krishnaya. Unto that Krishna. Namaha, my salutations. Unto the one who is the wish-fulfilling tree for those who have surrendered, who has the whip in one hand and the symbol of knowledge in the other, and who milks the nectar that is the Gita, unto that Krishna, my salutations. Krishna as a wish-fulfilling tree. In the third verse, Lord Krishna is likened to a wish-fulfilling tree said to be found in heaven. Whatever you wish for while sitting under this tree immediately appears in front of you. Krishna is this wish-fulfilling tree for those who have surrendered unto him. To them, he is the giver of everything. Krishna's control. In one hand, Krishna is holding the whip with which he drives the horses. His other hand assumes the gesture symbolizing knowledge. This means that Krishna does not give up the job of charioteer when Arjuna wants to be taught. Right in the middle of the battlefield, when Arjuna wants to know, Krishna assumes the role of a teacher. Knowing full well that Arjuna would fight, Krishna did not drop the whip. Arjuna dropped his bow and arrows, but Krishna kept the whip in his hand. He loosened the reins for the interim, but everything was under control. Unto the one who thus holds the symbol of knowledge, I offer my salutations. The symbol of knowledge. We offer our salutations not to the symbol of knowledge, but to the one who has this knowledge of non-duality, which cannot be negated. The symbol of knowledge, Jnana Mudra, is formed by joining the three fingers and separating them from the index finger. The index finger then joins with the thumb to form a circle. The index finger, also called the accusing finger, stands for the self and usually joins the other three, representing the body, mind, and senses. By separating them out, we see that the body, mind, and senses are all anatma, not I. One generally thinks that these are atma, but they are not. They are all anatma and are therefore to be understood as such. Whatever is not anatma is the self and is revealed by the teaching as identical with the limitless Brahman represented by the thumb. Without the thumb, the fingers cannot grasp anything. It is important that the thumb be away from the fingers in order to do so. Similarly, the limitless Brahman is away from and unattached to the body, mind, and senses. At the same time, without the limitless Brahman, the body, mind, and senses have no being, much less any function. Previously, we thought of ourselves as limited. The circle created by the index finger and thumb signifies that because we now have the knowledge of non-duality, the sense of limitation is gone. Just as a circle has no beginning and no end, we know ourselves to be limitless. Krishna, the giver of nectar of Gita. The Gita is likened to milk, and Krishna is the one who provides the milk. From where does the milk come? From the Shruti. Therefore, all the Vedas, the Upanishads, are likened to a cow, its milk being the Gita. Unto Krishna, the one who gives out the nectar, that is the Gita, my salutations. Sarvopanishado gavo dogdha gopalanandanaha partho vatsas sudhir bhokta dugdham gitamritam mahat. Sarva Upanishadaha, all the Upanishads, Gavaha, cows, Gopala Nandanaha, joy of cowherds, Dogdha, one who milks, Partha, Arjuna, Vatsaha, calf, Sudhihi, one whose mind is clear, Bhokta, enjoyer, Mahat Gita Amritam, great invaluable nectar of the Gita, Dugdham, milk. The Upanishads are the cow. The joy of cowherds, Krishna, is the one who milks. Arjuna is the calf. The one whose mind is clear is the one who drinks the milk. And the invaluable, timeless Gita is the milk. The first two verses praise the Gita and Vyasa. Because the Gita was taught to Arjuna by Lord Krishna, he is praised in the third verse as the teacher of the Gita, as Gitacharya. In the fourth verse, the nature of the Gita and the Lord are both mentioned. This is the subject matter of the Gita, and it is being praised here. The Upanishads and the Gita as a cow and its milk. All the Upanishads are taken into account in the Gita. To present the Gita as the essence of the Upanishads, a popular imagery is used in this verse. Here the cow, a symbol of wealth and sanctity, is presented to represent all of the Upanishads. Together they form the body of the cow. If the Upanishads are the cow, then its milk is the Gita. Krishna is the milkman. Who is the milkman? Nowadays, milking is all done by machines. But previously, it was not easy to coax milk from a cow. The cow has its own moods and will not yield for just anyone. In this verse, Krishna is acknowledged as the best milkman. Born into the family of a milkman in a cowherd community, Krishna did not need to be taught how to milk a cow. Even from cows with empty udders, Krishna was able to get milk. Just as he could get milk from a cow, Krishna is able to milk the Upanishads. He knows exactly what the subject matter is. In fact, he is the subject matter. Since he knows the subject matter so well, he is the best one to milk the Upanishads. Milk is the essence of the cow in that the many things a cow eats are all converted into milk. In the same manner, the Upanishads talk about a variety of topics, but it is all converted into the milk of Vedanta Shastra, Brahma Vidya and Yoga Shastra. These are the two most important topics in all of the Upanishads. They form the milk, and there can be no better milkman than Krishna. Lord Krishna is Gopala Nandana, the joy of cowherds. Lord Krishna is referred to here as Gopala Nandana, the joy of cowherds. The word go in Sanskrit not only means cow, it also means words and earth. The one who gives meaning to all of these words is Lord Krishna, and the one who nourishes and sustains the earth with life is also Lord Krishna. In this verse, he is also referred to as the milkman, who is the joy of all the cowherds because he is the nourisher and protector of cows. Arjuna, the cause of the Gita. A cow produces milk for the sake of its calf. Here also there must be a calf to generate the milk, that is the Gita. Arjuna, Partha is the Vatsa, the calf, because he is instrumental in drawing the Gita out from Krishna. Just as the cow's milk is born for the sake of the calf, the Gita was born for the sake of Arjuna. Since the calf cannot take all of the milk produced by the cow, there is extra milk for the people. In the same way, Arjuna acquired the milk of the Gita, and others are also the partakers of it. Partakers of the Gita. Unlike the milk from the cow, the milk of the Gita is endless. The enjoyer of this milk is the one whose mind is clear and who has discrimination. The person who is capable of inquiry, Sudhi, is the partaker of this milk. The Gita is likened to milk because it is nourishing to all. Milk is a complete food, a universal food. The message of the Gita is also universal. It is applicable to everyone at any time or place because it deals with certain facts that do not change with time or place. The timelessness of the subject matter. That which does not change is the very subject matter of the Gita and is therefore described here as Amrita. There are many meanings of the word Amrita, but the one that is most relevant here is that which is not subject to death. Whatever is not bound by time does not undergo any change. That which immortalizes you, nourishes you, makes you happy, is considered to be Amrita. Anyone can take it. It is applicable to all. This timeless nectarine Gita is described here as something that becomes more available the more it is given. The milk of the Gita is knowledge. The more knowledge you give, the more you have, because as you keep giving, the knowledge becomes clearer for you.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
We'll call it a day here. You remember this page number 48?
48.
And verse number 5.
5.
Vasudeva Sutam Devam. You can't miss this.
Yes.
Ketappa is being praised here. Okay?
Yes.
Good. Well done. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah. Sarve Santu Niramayah. Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu. Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om, everybody.
Hari Om, Dhanwad Nanaji.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.